Hi everyone, and welcome to the Johanna Konta podcast, your dose of relaxpiration where we get to meet amazing people from sport, business, entertainment, and just life in general. In this episode, we answer your questions and speak to actors James and Oliver Phelps. I'm your host, Johanna Konta, and welcome to episode 1. At the time of recording this episode, it's early April 2020, and I'm locked down in my apartment as everyone else across the country due to the coronavirus pandemic. This is an unprecedented moment in time, and there are some incredible people working so hard to get us through this, so a huge thank you to them. I'm not so used to having this much time on my hands, so whilst keeping busy, working out in the living room, which is quite interesting, cooking in the kitchen, which I love to do anyway, and looking after my dogs, you heard that correctly, plural, dogs, we have a new addition to the family, I wanted to spend some time talking with friends, hearing from you, and creating something that will hopefully be something of a distraction during this time. After all, there's only so much time I can spend playing Lego Harry Potter games. More on that later. But first, let's get to your questions. Ahead of each episode, I'll be asking you to submit questions to me on Twitter or Instagram, where you can find me at Johanna Konta. Feel free to ask me anything you like, tennis related, travel related, Bono related. Please ask me about Bono and also the new addition of the family. His name is Gizmo, but honestly, anything. Thank you to everyone who sent in their questions. We've got plenty to work through, so let's get started. First up this week is a question from Leslie, who asked, what are you doing at home to still train physically and mentally for tennis? Well, obviously, I think like everybody, my current reality has changed very drastically. Unfortunately, I'm not able to spend any time on court, and I don't have access to a gym. All this is a fundamental part of what I do. However, I have tried to make the most out of the situation, and my living room is currently a makeshift gym, and I'm still trying to, get the most physical work possible in at this time. However, it's definitely not easy. Mentally, it's definitely a different challenge. I'm not able to spend any time on court. However, I have been visualizing playing. I am thinking about past matches that I've played, and I'm definitely trying to keep a very light mind and really, I think also try to enjoy this time. I think that definitely try to see the positives in also spending time at home with my loved ones, with my dogs, and just trying to really just make the most out of this period right now. Next, we have a question from Graham, who asked, is modeling for your sponsors like less good fun or hard work alongside your tennis career? Well, I'm very fortunate that I get to work with some really great brands such as Aless, who understand that my primary purpose, my primary job is to be a tennis player, is to be a professional athlete. And that's where I spend 99.9% of my time. However, obviously, working with such great brands, it is important that we do find some time to be able to create some great content for them and therefore have a really great relationship together. So I think through that, I definitely enjoy those moments because it is different to being on court. It just adds a different dynamic to my day. So I definitely think it's more fun more than anything. Next, we have a question from I3 Tennis Girl, who asked, what's your favorite court surface and why? Well, I've always maintained that I don't have a favorite surface. I think what's great about our sports, what's great about tennis is that during a season, because it is so long, we have those changes. And therefore, when those changes in surfaces do come, they bring out the different strengths in different players, but also the different weaknesses and challenges that comes out in players in changing surface. So I really enjoy that process of it, and therefore I actually just really enjoy all surfaces, and especially those first few weeks when we just go onto that new surface. This week, my guests are James and Oliver Phelps. They're probably best known for their roles as Fred and George Weasley in the Harry Potter films. Welcome to the show, guys. Thank you for coming on. Oliver, how have you found lockdown so far?
Yeah, thanks for having us, Joe. It's been quite strange, I've got to be honest with you. Although now it's become, I suppose, like everything you do more often becomes more normalized. But I've got to be honest, I think I'm probably healthier than I have been in a long time in terms of, because the UK government have basically just said you can go out for 1 hour a day to exercise, is that actually using that hour wisely, be it to go for a walk with the family or go for a long run, or what I thought was a long run, and then turns out I'm a lot more out of shape than I thought. But just gradually building up stuff like that. So it's been quite good, and I don't think I've spent so much time gardening in the however many years I've lived at my house than I have done these past few weeks. So it's been making the best of a bad situation, I suppose, what with everything what's really serious and everything going on outside of the family home, as it were. It's quite a safe environment, and I think that's the best thing to do, is just heed the advice given and just stay a safe distance and only go out when you're supposed to.
No, 100%. And James, have you become a bit of a runner yourself then?
Yeah, well, I was always into cut me if I'm wrong, Oliver, I've always been, especially over the last few years, I've been a lot more into my fitness and doing it every day. But because there's no gym to go to or anything, I've become I'm probably going to develop the body I had when I was 17, I reckon, again.
I'm definitely
disappearing, but I'm running. So I do 5K every day, and then every Sunday morning I do a 10K.
Okay, and that's for fun.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh wow! Okay, now I feel very not fit, non-athlete like for myself then.
But the problem is though, I set I always want to beat the week before, and so I've already shaved off 3 minutes from the previous week.
Oh wow!
But I'm worried if I peak too soon.
Oh my goodness! Wow, that's impressive. I mean, obviously for me, I've makeshifted my living room as a gym, and making the best of a, like you said, not an ideal situation. However, I've got my workout buddies and my dogs now. You heard right, plural. I have 2 dogs now. So that's been an interesting thing. I'm constantly having to battle because I usually use a tennis ball to like part of my foam rolling and mobility routine. I'm usually having to fight my dogs for my tennis ball to be able to do my mobility routine. So I've never had such a tough mobility routine in my career. But otherwise, I'm actually really ashamed to admit I've been playing Lego Harry Potter and on PlayStation, and not even a small amount. So I think I have a problem. So I'll probably need to start distancing myself from that a little bit. But yeah, moving swiftly on. I don't know if you guys remember when we met, but it's actually coming up to almost 3 years ago. Well, Oliver, you and I met before I met you, James, but it was actually at the Pride of Britain Awards. And the reason that's significant to me is because that night I got super, super starstruck. And that's because I actually got to meet David Bradley, who plays Mr. Filch in the films. I don't know, if you've come across him, but I got massively starstruck. No joke. But I wasn't sure if you actually remembered, Oliver, on how we met that night, because I think I actually tweeted you. How do you remember it?
Yeah, that's how I remember. I remember sitting down at our table and then just checking the phones before, obviously, they started recording the program, and I remember seeing a tweet from you, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I was going, and then James skipped away early because I think he had to make the train or something at the end of the end of the show. So I was left about. But yeah, I remember you coming over and we started chatting. So yeah, it was quite a cool night actually, listening to all these amazing people and how they've done some amazing stuff over the course of the year, and also seeing it filmed, because when you see it on the TV, it's such a polished and smooth running production. Yeah. No, but actually, on the night, the one thing I remember is the editing, what goes into certain speeches, especially the politicians' speeches. Like, I won't name the politician, but they basically went on for about 10 minutes about their constituency.
Yeah,
and none of it. And I remember my wife basically smacking me on the back of the head for saying it under my breath, oh, shut up, mate. No one cares. Let's get on with it. And then, but when the edit comes out, they look at the finished article. So it was quite amazing when you see that side of it as well. So it's quite nice to understand how the whole system works.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, I've been to a couple of those, and I know you have too. And there's definitely never a dry eye usually during those awards. So no, 100%. I actually wanted to ask, talking a little bit about Harry Potter, but only briefly. And this is to both of you, but I guess, James, let's start with you. What was it like, I guess, essentially growing up or being such young children on that set? I mean, it's such a massive production. What was it like growing up on the Harry Potter set, essentially?
So it's actually a couple of months' time. It'll be the 20th anniversary, as it were, of when we went for our first audition.
Wow.
And that got, like, the audition itself was nervous because we'd never even had any kind of audition for any kind of production or anything. And so we went for first day on set. We were in Goathland, which is a town in the middle of Yorkshire Moors.
Okay.
Famous for, it used to be where Heartbeat was filmed.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, we were,
and now it's famous for your auditioning.
Yeah, something like that. That was our first scene that we filmed, and literally the scene was everyone getting on the train to go, like, the last scene of the whole movie. So we learned straight away that films aren't filmed in sequence. So the scene was everyone getting back on the Hogwarts Express to go home. And all we literally had to do was step onto the train. But I can remember being so nervous. What was cool about all the Potters was that it wasn't just the actors that you see on it. Like, the whole crew were all engaged. Like, we're all a big group, really. And then as the films went on, and a few of us got older, we all would socialize outside of filming as well, which was always. I'm still very good friends with quite a lot of the guys.
Yeah, no,
both
of course.
in front and behind the camera.
Well, you spent so much time together. I mean, that's only inevitable. There are some similarities, I guess, growing up playing tennis and growing up being on set. I mean, both of us, we didn't necessarily go to school like everyone else, and also spending a lot of time really specializing in something. How did you find that, and how do you think that has impacted you longer term?
Yeah, I think actually we were probably slightly different from yourself, like, in terms of the schooling aspect. So after we'd be filming for say certain amounts of weeks at a time, where we would do our tutoring at the studios, and then we would go back to normality, as you could say. Okay. So we actually went back to our high school and actually went back to doing stuff there. So back into lessons, back into regular form, realizing that, but although you've got this thing now, I just remember probably about a year or two in, realizing that, there's more to life than this. Yeah. And just thinking to myself, right, okay, what do I want to do? Because obviously in that environment, it wasn't a drama school. It wasn't anything like that. So it was very much, to me, where it was almost enforced on you. No, you've got to go to university. You've got to, do X, Y, or Z, or go into a trade. It was one of these things. And I can remember sitting there one time in a business studies lesson, just thinking, yeah, you don't get my life plan. I don't know my life plan, but it's not what you're mentioning to me right now. Like, wow. Almost like ticking box A, box B, box C. Like, I still don't believe life works like that. Like, yeah, it's fine for a lot of people. But I think if you've been exposed to something and you've got that drive, if you've got that, I suppose you've got that channel to get to, and roughly that you want to do something way more than what you're being told, that it's quite hard to dissuade someone, especially if you're young and you've got so much more. I like to think you've got a lot more drive than, a lot of. I've got to be careful, because a lot of teachers are very good at telling you how great you can be, but unfortunately, there's always one or two. Not saying it was my business teacher at all, but just saying that there was, there's obviously one or two teachers who are almost trying to pigeon box you, almost trying to restrain you, like to hold your expectations, so you can be, this is all you can do. Yeah. Which I don't agree with at all. I suppose it started learning early on, which I suppose is a bit like the song, I wish I knew what I knew now when I was younger, was it was basically just saying to, actually getting a grip and saying, no, I'm going to do a much better job than what you're trying to perceive life as. It may work for you and all, fair play to you, but it's not what I want.
And as actors on the film, I assume, you guys spent a lot of time together early in your career. How have you found transitioning into leading more separate lives professionally?
It's been a kind of 6.5 dozen the other, really, because luckily we're always raised to be individuals. Like, it'll be very rare to find us in photos of us wearing the same kind of clothes, like some twins you would see growing up. So we always quite relish the chance to work individually.
Yeah.
However, sometimes it's hard to get. Some people only see you as twins.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't even be considered for a role because they would think of all actors who aren't twins before you, if that makes sense.
For sure.
And then there's other guys other directors, producers who are keen to get us involved individually and see how we get on our own, which is quite cool as well. So it's kind of we take it as win some, you lose some kind of thing, but it's not a bad thing to have that you got someone who kind of looks like you.
Kind of, just a little.
Maybe not at the moment though, because I'm looking a bit of a hippie at the moment.
No, James, you're not looking like a hippie. From according what you're saying, you should look like an absolute like Iron Man with like everything like. So,
I wouldn't go that far.
So actually, then moving on to sport, because you guys are going to now put me to shame. However, I've heard a rumor that I'm not the only athlete. I mean, it's been confirmed now prior in this conversation that I'm not the only athlete on this call. However, that you guys are honorary members of the Oxford University Quidditch team. Is that correct?
Maybe we agreed to something in the pub quiz, what we can't remember, James. So we did an Oxford Union tour. You did one, didn't you, Joe, as well?
I did, yeah, no, I did. No, I mean, I didn't have half as many people show up to mine as yours, because I'm not gonna lie, I did watch it, and it was I saw the ratio of I guess female to males, and there was about 95% females in attendance, and I think, bless them, I don't think any guy really got a chance to ask you questions, which I thought was quite funny.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, oh yeah, that was it was just so funny, because I remember being asked to do it, to do the Oxford Union, and we went along, and like you say, we didn't really know what to expect in terms of. I just assumed that there was obviously there's a lot of people who go there to talk politics and to learn about, key insights into life and stuff like that. One of the things that James and I tried to get across to the audience relatively earlier on that is, let's face it, my worldview is not why you're here, is it? So let's just talk about what we know, what we can talk about, and what the audience there wanted to talk about. But we didn't know that they were recording it. And then about how long later was it, James, when Rupert sent us a message?
About 4 or 5 months later, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he just so Rupert Grint sent me a message, a picture message, and he was on an aircraft, and on the in-flight entertainment there was James and my speech at the Oxford Union.
When I went, I had to do a speech. And so, I mean, I don't give speeches. Like the last time I gave a speech was when I did my grade 5 play, where I was like, I think it was the Epic of Gilgamesh or something, and I had to sing my lines. That's as close as I've come to doing a speech, right?
You should have just done that.
I should have. I mean, I still remember the lines. That's how traumatic it was. But this is the thing. I actually was so nervous going in and having to, I guess, look at my audience. I mean, I guess I'm reasonably used to playing and performing in front of thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people. However, I don't have to look at them in the face and talk to them. So even when I get interviewed on court, I'm talking to one person and then vaguely to everyone around, but I'm not having to, I guess, just perform off my own back with a speech to everyone. So when I saw that you guys were sitting down, just nicely in comfy chairs, just getting asked questions, I was like, oh, I got the short end of the stick.
I kind of, I guess we did it from such a young age, so we got used to it. But I remember one of the first ever theatre shows I did. I've worked with him since a couple of times. The director, a guy called Adam Morley, who's a really top bloke and a big sports fan, by the way. He's going to be very jealous, actually, when I tell him about this later. Anyway, by the way, he told me one of the best bits of advice I've ever been told, which was, no one in an audience ever wants you to suck. It makes everyone, you want to go there and see something good, and everyone wants that person that they've got their attention on to succeed.
I'm going to keep that. That's so good. Because I guess in the same way for me, when I go out on court, people are there to want to witness a great match, an entertaining match. So it's the same thing. No one goes to see a bad match. So that's really good. I'm going to keep that in mind next time I'm in a really uncomfortable position having to give a speech somewhere.
Yeah, but that's what I say to myself if I ever get a tiny bit nervous or anything like that. Ironically, the only time I ever get really nervous is if I've got an audition and it's just me and like the casting agent or someone in the room. I could give a speech to a couple of thousand people, no problem. But if it's just one-on-one, I sometimes get a bit nervous.
Oh wow, that's so interesting. Well, I guess when sometimes when there's more people, your natural performer comes out quicker, maybe because there's more adrenaline, maybe. And when it's just one person, it's just one attention on you. It's not spread out. But anyway, you guys actually came and played some tennis with me at the end of 2017 at Wimbledon. And I know...
we were never invited back, were we, afterwards?
Well, that's not true. That's not true. You have been invited back, and it's an open invitation. It's literally an open invitation. So whenever these quarantine measures lift, then, that can be the first place we go for. Like, that would be great.
Have they repaired the window on the balcony then?
You know what? I'd rather not talk about that publicly.
Yes.
I think that, Jackson, cut this out. Well, I mean, I know you'd been there previously. By the way, I heard that you obviously went to the Royal Box, and I mean, that's quite an honor to be invited to sit in the Royal Box. However, is it true that you guys wore headbands?
Yeah, so hang
on, Oliver. So this is James. I didn't go, so I can't be part of this blasphemy of centre court.
I know, just complete lack of etiquette. Then, Oliver, what do you have to say for yourself?
Okay, I was told I got a call from. This was going back in 2012, I think it is. Yeah, it'd be 2012 when the roof had. First year the roof had been put on centre court, I think.
Okay.
I think it was 2012, and so on like say the Monday or Tuesday, I got a call from Rupert saying, "Do you fancy going to Wimbledon later in the week?" So I said, "Yeah, sure, yeah, that'd be cool." And then literally the night before, he texted me saying, "Oh yeah, you need to wear a jacket and tie." So I said, "Okay, yeah, fine." Didn't know if we were in hospitality or something like that. So, okay, fine. So we got there, and it was only when we walked into the and Rupert's the most like laid back chap you'll ever meet. So it's kind of just like you just go with it really. And so we walk into the into Wimbledon, and it was only when a soldier showed us into centre court. So you go up the stairs where the near where where the players' dressing room is, that right? Where the trophies.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
And went in there, and then you go in the back room, and obviously there's like a sit down afternoon tea and stuff like that. It's all
very
fantastic,
proper.
And very very proper. And they gave you like a little penny you had to put on a pin.
So is this when you thought it was a good idea to put on a headband?
Oh no! This was a lot later. So we were, we were in there, and we were shown to our seat, and it was literally front row centre. So I was sitting in a seat which is, if it had an official title, it would be where the Duke of Edinburgh would sit, and Ruth was in Her Majesty's seat. So that was quite interesting. And so halfway through the first game, I turned to the chap next to me and just said, "Oh, it's really good seats, isn't it?" He said, "Yes, we're very lucky." And I said, "Do you get to come often?" And he said, "Yeah, I come every day." Well, I have to. I'm head of the LTA, and when you want to just vault over the side and get out of the way because you can't really get out of that hole really. So
instead you put on a headband.
So this was a bit later on. So we started getting chatty with people and just talking about it. And I think they realised that we were very interested in the tennis, but at the same time we were enjoying the experience. We were very respectful for it, but we weren't trying to be, something we're not. We weren't insulting anyone like that. But then Rupert and I went for a walk around in between. I think it was the second game. I think in the last, it was going one way, so we decided to skip out for the crowds and just have a look around.
Yeah.
Because I remember we were sat in the seat and we looked over to our left, and Jason Isaacs was actually sat in the regular seats, shall we say. So Jason Isaacs played Lucius Malfoy, and he looked up, and I won't tell you what he mouthed, but it was along the lines of, "Why are you there?" So we had a bit of a laugh there. So we went down and we said hello to him, and then we went for a walk, and we went past the Wimbledon shop, which is pretty iconic anyway, with the colours and everything like that. So we were looking, and we saw these headbands. Yeah, we'll buy one of those, and we stuck them on throughout. I think Murray was playing in the prime time game, so we stuck them on just for a game or two to see if we had. But you don't know if the camera's on you, and it was only when I started getting messages from some people I haven't spoken to in years, messaging me going, "What are you doing in Wimbledon?
Take that headband off."
Some people saying to me, "Keep it on the whole game," but it was very good because we had the is it the Duke of Gloucester? Who's there?
Could be. Somebody
like that sat behind us, and they were, "This is marvelous, isn't it? Oh, fantastic!" But the cool thing is they've actually got a plant pot what they pass around on the sly underneath, because it's like wicker furniture chairs you sit in, and they've got like this plant pot full of sweets, like pick a mix, like dolly mixes and stuff like that.
Way. I didn't even know that.
Wow! So if you watch, you get this. They're like passing this thing. You're not supposed to show it because you're not supposed to eat there. I'm probably just giving the whole game away now.
I know. I mean,
it was.
We're gonna have to cut this too. Damn it.
Yeah, I know, yeah, we're gonna have to go. But we were. It was just absolutely incredible. It was.
So every time now that I play on centre court, and if there's a systematic, almost Mexican wave of people just bending down, it means they're going for a pick and mix. Like
grab. It means they've topped up the jar. But it was amazing because
what you could do, Joe, is when you go back and you ask for the towel, if you look up and ask for a dolly mixture or something.
Yeah, and if they don't give out, then I'm like, oh no, I know,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
And you know that I know now.
But it was amazing because I think that was when they were that was just before the premiere in London. So probably about a week before. So everything was all geared towards Potter anyway. So that's probably why they showed it in the
it's brilliant. So then it was
just
brilliant. I guess what's the word? Yeah, brilliant PR. That's it. It was perfect.
Yeah. It was very much one of those things where we were just enjoying it. Neither of us were drinking at that day because I drove there, so you can't even blame alcohol for having anything to do with the headbands or anything.
No, it was just pure genius. That's all you can blame it on.
It was just making the most. It was making the most of a moment because I thought to myself, I may never be here again, so you might as well have fun but not be disrespectful.
Yeah.
Where there's sometimes a fine line in that environment, but it was. It was absolutely fantastic.
Brilliant. It was actually so cool to have you both in my box at the US Open, but then also both of you individually came to some of my matches during the grass court season in 2018. And I was just wondering, what was it like sitting, I guess, in my box with my team? I mean, I know we have no pick and mix jar kind of being passed around on the sly on the bottom, but what was it like, I guess, being in my box?
It was so cool because obviously we've never really been in that environment for any sport, but it was just fascinating to see. Obviously we went beforehand and with Jackson in like behind the scenes, as it were, and everyone's just having their lunch. Yeah. And you're sitting there, and then like Nadal just walks past you and people like that, and that was bizarre. And then you go straight out, and then we went onto the court with the team, and we didn't know whether to cheer or not. It was fascinating. It was such a great experience, and especially because we know you, it means even more to see you do well. It's not like going to see, I guess, tennis match usually, unless you know the person. It's like, oh, you want them to win, but it's neither here or there. But really, when you know someone, you genuinely want them to win. That was quite cool to see as well.
No, for sure, you have more personal investment. It's like whenever I get the chance to hopefully come see you guys in a show, I'll definitely be more personally invested in wanting you to do well, and then I just need to restrain and realize, okay, there's only certain periods I can clap here, and that's mainly at the end. So try not break out and cheer in the middle of an act.
Well, it was actually when I came to see you in 2018. It was just before I was doing a show actually at the time, and
you came to Nottingham. That's right.
That's right, yeah. And I remember it was going along to the event and watching you warm up, and we went to sit. Ben, Neelan, and myself went to sit down, and they said, "Oh yeah, just grab those 2 chairs there." And it was this pristine lawn to warm up on, and we just picked up these 2 foldaway chairs, and then they just sink into the turf. So again, it's not being the right thing. So I think we kind of just stood back and just watched you do it, but just seeing that whole journey really, from in terms of the getting there, the fueling up, the eating, everyone's in the same environment. Some people are getting their nails done, some people are just getting a massage, getting food, whatever, to going out and playing. No, it was fantastic. And then going out to playing, because the women's game, when you're watching it live, it's not all smash and bang. So you see a lot more rallies, which is obviously more enjoyable. As James said, to go to the US Open and see there, it worked out really well because we were in the States anyway. Yeah. We were just down in Philly, so yeah, just get the train up the road there and just watch that. So that was really cool to see that side of it, and obviously a major or on the Grand Slams is just a huge event to go to, and such an iconic place anyway.
But it was so good to have you guys there. Honestly, it was so much fun.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just bizarre when we turned up, and there was obviously an even a much more well-known person in the box than us guys.
Oh, Jackson, yeah, I know. He's really he needs to really just take a step back from his own fame. You know, we struggle with him nowadays. I know. But I mean, obviously, for me, Wimbledon is one of the events that's cancelled for this year, and which is really sad. But because of that, and because of all the events for me that have been cancelled, I'm, and especially right now specifically with the quarantine, I'm not traveling anywhere, and neither are you guys. But I do think sometimes you guys travel more than I do. Are you missing it at all?
I thought I would. Basically, this is the longest I've been at home in about 8 years, I reckon.
Oh wow! So
I thought I would miss the traveling, but to be honest, I'm really enjoying just being at home with my wife and my dog. Yeah, it's really it's something which I don't get to do nearly as much as and actually doing anything that you can in the house. But then I think you may be the same. When you're away, you kind of flick a switch so you don't think about back home, because otherwise that's all that will consume your brain.
No, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you, like when I go away, I'm there to do a job essentially, and yeah, you kind of, I guess, switch on your working mode.
Yeah, and I think as well, because I think subconsciously you can't go anyway, even if you really want to, it wouldn't be anywhere to go to anyway. What with the current situation, which always makes it a bit more rational to not miss it, as it were. Like James and I we're supposed to be in Australia right now doing a speaking tour. Oh, wow. But that's been put back about 6 months or so now. So, but like I say, even if we did get there, we'd have been in quarantine in a small hotel room for 2 weeks, and it probably wouldn't have gone ahead anyway. No, exactly. So you kind of like can almost make it seem just as good with that. And as I say, being in the garden, it's been nice and mild for this time of year, which has been quite nice. So yeah, making the most of it.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess for me, obviously, with my season, I have reoccurring places that I keep going back to. Is it, I guess, similar for you guys as the years kind of go? Do you have, I guess, regular places that you keep going back to? And if so, actually, where is I guess both you, Oliver, and James, what is your favorite place to keep going back to? Yeah,
we kind of our travel itinerary changes, I'd say, virtually every year. Mm-hmm. So there's we kind of try and leave it probably, if we can, about 3 or 4 years at least before we go back to somewhere for work, just so you can see a change in it, and just so there's an interest to go back to it. Yeah. Probably still my favorite place city-wise that I've been to is Valencia.
Oh, wow, okay.
Which is just an absolutely amazing city. So culturally Spanish. It hasn't been wrecked by tourism. It's just in terms of it's still very much a place of where the food is well priced, drinks well priced. You can get amazing paella. There's really good culture scene. Sporting's really good. The weather's good. It's not overly busy, and the people themselves are just absolutely out of this world. I can't speak highly enough of the place. It's probably one of the only places that I can remember. On the last, we were there for about 5 or 6 days, and I remember on the last morning I got up and I was packing my case, and I was thinking, I can't really wish I wasn't leaving now.
Oh,
which
wow.
is
Have you been back since
is
then?
always haven't been able to, because we booked it going to it, and then a job came up. So I couldn't go to that then. And then I was actually planning to go and watch the football, but then that was actually held back because Valencia were playing in northern Italy.
Okay. Oh, so this is recent.
That was where. Yeah, this is really recent. Yeah. So then that got shelved. So I haven't been. So I've already said to the guys out there that I'll be when everything's all safe to go back to. It'll definitely be one of my first ports of call, because it's a great place, and I'd really recommend people to go when it's all this is finished.
Okay, I think I'll be one of them. And how about you, James? You the same, Valencia for you, or?
So I've got a couple of places which I've been back to many times. One would be Helsinki in Finland.
Okay, yeah.
Really enjoy that, and especially this time of year. It's coming up to a couple of weeks' time. Will be midsummer, which is when literally midnight is like midday here.
Oh wow, yeah.
Which is quite an experience to do. And then Austin, Texas.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Texas as well. I spent some time when I was younger training in San Antonio, but one of my best friends at the time, she actually lived in Austin, so I spent a little bit of time there. It's a very cool city. Do you prefer the feeling of getting on a plane to travel somewhere, or getting on a plane to fly home?
Oh, that's a great question.
I think to get somewhere, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just because you've got it all there, because the trouble is it always seems to take a lot longer to get home than it does to get anywhere. Mm-hmm. Even if it doesn't necessarily actually take longer, it just seems to take longer sometimes. Like if you're going somewhere, you've got to get there, whereas to get back, it's always like, am I there yet? Come on, can we get back soon, or can we go now? We're used to traveling on our own, not necessarily on the same flights, James and I.
Is that by choice?
Not by. Yeah, well, sometimes no. It's more just a case of just when the schedules work out to go there. So I'm quite used to traveling on my own, and I'm really happy doing that, because I can just be one of these people who are headphones in, I'm gone. Whereas it's even worse.
Whereas James is always talking, so you just kind of prefer.
Do you know what? There's been a couple of occasions when. Especially on Virgin, if I'm lucky enough to be flying up the front, there's like a bar area, and there has been times when I've met people at the bar, and then we've ended up hanging out during our trip there.
So you are that person. You are that person that stands there and talks to people. Shame on you.
Yeah, people awake.
I kind of wait. I don't engage the conversation. I wait for someone to engage, and then I'm like, okay, it's a good way to pass 12 hours.
So it's the Venus flytrap, is it? So you're just there ready.
Yeah. I just sit and wait.
Thank you so much for coming on to my first podcast episode. Before you go, I have one last question, and it's probably the most important one. Did you guys ever consider committing to dyeing your hair ginger long term?
No.
no hesitation. There was a little hesitation.
It was kind of it's just the upkeep of the roots, Joe. It's a nightmare. So it was that and the eyebrows. It took the shine off it really by the end of it. So I grew it out quite a lot when we finished, just so it wasn't just all because the best way to get rid of hair dye is to grow it out and cut it. So I tried to do that as best I can. But I think a week or 2 weeks. A month or so, should I say, after we finished, I think was when I had it all taken back to its natural state, which luckily the guys were really good at dyeing it with decent products. It wasn't like the £4 stuff you get at the chemist.
So in between your hair didn't go just suddenly green.
Yeah, exactly, or even fall out like now. So that's quite good. So it's they were very good with that.
No, brilliant.
Well, Oliver did have a bad experience with his eyebrows when we were filming once.
Okay, please tell.
Please tell.
Go on, James. You sound like you really want to get this across, so you can do it.
So when we're filming in the hair and makeup, they always had interns at every film. There was a hair intern and a makeup intern. And so, was it the final movie?
No, it's it wasn't the final movie. It was the 6th movie, I think it was.
Sixth movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so every time we had our hair dyed, we also had our eyebrows bleached as well. And for that to work, they put this stuff on your eyebrows and leave it to essentially burn your eyebrows for about 5 minutes or so, and then it turns it from brown to ginger.
Very nice.
However, the person that was doing Oliver's forgot to put the stop clock on. So after 10 minutes, you hear Oliver, like, I've had mine done, I'm fine. You hear Oliver say, should it be time to come off now? Oh, yes. Took them off, and he had the biggest forehead you've ever seen. You couldn't see any eyebrows on there.
Well, no, it wasn't even that. It just makes your eyes look like they're virtually in your mouth. It's really bizarre because there's no perception on your head. It just makes everything else. I felt like a Picasso painting. Like, it looked really out there.
Is there photographic evidence on this? Because please, can I see this next time we see each other?
No, I'm pretty sure I got rid of all of them. Not from me, there isn't.
And on that note, thank you again so much.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Jay.
No worries still. Cheers, Jay. All the best with it.
Perfect. Thanks. Thank you, everyone, for listening to my first episode. I'll be back soon with more friends and answers to your questions. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, tell your friends, and follow me across social media at Johanna Konta, where you can send me your questions for next time. I'll see you guys on the next episode.